Hello. I just wanted to talk today about the fact that we are immersed in a godless society that's really done its best to eliminate God from every aspect of our lives, from our schools to our government, entertainment, TV, the list goes on. And sadly, as a result, the Lord has largely been excluded from personal conversations and even personal thoughts because we become like those we hang around. And we need to be careful because there is a tendency to humanize God or to bring him down to our level. There are many people that are just so casual about him, like calling him the big guy upstairs, the man in charge. And then there's other people who will depersonalize him and make him very ceremonial, having this perception that God's pretty much unapproachable. But we need to have the proper perspective of who he is and who we are in him. And that's needed in order to have a healthy walk with God. When we prepare to go into his word or to communicate with him in prayer or worship, maybe in a song, it would be really wise to spend some time, a few moments even, just reminding ourselves of who he is. If we forget who he is, then we really easily forget that he's in charge and he's more than able to handle both our personal issues and the problems that are plaguing the whole world. But I want you to notice how David, despite his many sins, he's called the man after God's own heart, but we see him approach God in prayer in 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 10 to 15. He says, "Blessed are you, Lord God of Israel, our Father, forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness, the power, and the glory, the victory and the majesty, for all that is in heaven and all that is in earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head over all. Both riches and honor come from you, and you reign over all. In your hand is power and might. In your hand it is to make great and to give strength to all. Now therefore, our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name. But who am I and who are my people that we should be able to offer so willingly as this? For all things come from you, and of your own we have given you. For we are aliens and pilgrims before you, as were our fathers. Our days on earth are as a shadow and without hope." And I want you to notice the word therefore in verse 13. When we see the word therefore, we should always ask, what is it there for? In light of who God is and in light of his power and might, David can approach him. This is what that therefore means. And notice everything in this prayer begins about God. There's no I, me, my, none of that at this point. David doesn't get to himself and his people until he finishes exalting God. And when he does finally get to talking to God about himself, he rightly acknowledges, who am I and who are my people, to be in the presence of one as great as God. When we forget who he is, there's a tendency to elevate others, to elevate people, and fear of man is the result. As we continue in our walk with God, let's take time to remember who he is. There's much concerning the power and majesty of God, but we scarcely take the time in our busy lives to remind ourselves of that. So consider taking time each day and meditating on one of the characteristics of God every day. Maybe one day consider the God of creation as you look around and consider all that he made, just how magnificent and detailed his creation truly is. And you might consider how he's the author of history and that history is really his story that's being played out through the lives of others, including you and me. And you might spend some time considering that he's the God of prophecy, and prophecy is God's fingerprint in the Bible. He's the Ancient of Days, foretelling these things that are to come. Consider his matchless love, his power, his mercy, his grace, his patience, his loving kindness. And in the process, let's never forget his Son, because without what he did for us on that cross, we'd be without hope. We'd be stuck in the bondage of sin. We really can't approach God properly until we realize who it is that we're approaching. He's elevated high above the earth, and yet his loving ear is turned towards us if we'll simply humble ourselves and come to him. with a fully surrendered and submitted heart. His love is amazing, and He's worthy of all of our praise, our time, and our adoration. I pray that you're blessed this day. Shalom.